Hi folks, I'm Divok from Project 65 and welcome back to another Artifact video. So what is the state of Artifact in 2019 and how did we get to such a seemingly bad spot? Artifact for the large part had a great 2018. The initial outcry of Valve fans who saw they were making a card game had died down and we started to learn about just how awesome this Artifact thing was. I personally started my Artifact journey here on YouTube back in late March to early April of 2018. Just after we got to see some of the first gameplay. IGN and a few other journalists got to head to Valve HQ and play an early build of the game, being taught directly by the devs and then showing off their gameplay against bots. This was the first time we got to see Artifact, and it looked pretty damn cool, although no one was quite sure what they were actually looking at. From then on, we knew Artifact was going to be a complex game. Sure, we'd already heard that before, but what developer is going to tell you their game is a breeze? No, Artifact earned its complex stigma, and continues to do so to this day. That didn't turn people away though, it created excitement. Finally something that wasn't Hearthstone, something truly challenging with a whole host of new mechanics for us to sink our teeth into. From there we covered all news of the game, any card reveals and leaks, information on when we were even going to get information, you name it, we were on it. And by July we were even able to make guides. This excitement lasted until the beta shenanigans. Artifact was due to have a closed beta with access coming from keys they'd given out for people attending PAX or the Dota International, and it was supposed to come in October. The month rolled around and many people had their keys ready and waiting, but nothing. And no news about the beta either. They kept us quiet with card reveals, although many people could not play the game yet, so for the large majority of these reveals meant very little. Of course, we were lucky enough to get into the super closed beta, thanks to a very generous invite from Valve, of which I am still eternally grateful for. This allowed us a perspective on the released cards, so we covered these cards explaining why things might have been good or bad, etc. without breaking NDA. Swim also did a fantastic job of this, so huge shout out to him. Big props. Not only did he have access, but he's also a good player of Artifact, so his insights were unbelievably important for us and the community as a whole. Yet there was little reaction from Valve. Sure, their reveals started to include a little bit more lore, but that was basically it. Eventually we find ourselves in late October, and we hear of a beta delay. Forever the optimist, I imagine we're going to have to wait until the end of the month, but that rolls past too. Late in the hour, we get an update from Wick, a prominent Valve community member. The closed beta is going to start just 1 week before the game is released to the public. This hit a lot of the hardcore Artifact followers hard. Some of them had paid hundreds of dollars for their key, either via travel or buying them online. This was, in my opinion, the start of the current state of Artifact. The launch of the game itself was great, but every launch is. Thousands of people playing, popular streamers from other games are trying it out, and it all seemed to be going well. But viewership in general seemed to be down. Artifact is, as we said, a complex beast. It isn't something you can just pick up and show off to your tens of thousands of Hearthstone fans. They will need teaching. And after having to teach people the game from scratch every day, some streamers started to move back to their old games. I must add here that there can be a whole plethora of reasons as to why streamers left Artifact, but the general scope of it is the viewership was down on their old games, and Artifact, while brilliant, is hard to pick up. This ended up with Artifact losing out on its opportunity to really fight for the top spot in online card gaming. It had failed to topple Hearthstone. But that doesn't mean the game failed by any stretch. It was still popular, watched by thousands each day, and had a strong following. Strong indeed, as many community tournaments started to spring up. Artifact had given us the ability to easily run tournaments, and without any true competitive format in the game at that point, we took it into our hands. I myself founded the Artifact Open Circuit, a series of daily tournaments earning you points to potentially qualify for a grand finals and a prize pool to boot. While I've since stepped down from my official capacity there, I still assist the beautiful people running it. At the time, Artifact had no competitive mode. It had a version of the game where you could pay money via a ticket system, to play in gauntlets, possibly winning card packs in your ticket back, but not everyone can afford to splash cash for a competitive format. So they started joining the AOC and other tournaments to get their competitive fix. These scenes really started to flourish, and at the height in the AOC we saw over 2,000 members through its door. However, only a select few leagues and circuits came to be, and even they offered a small semblance of progression, not to mention it split the player base across a huge number of communities, rather than creating one united one. Numbers started to slowly fall. People were unhappy with a number of factors from RNG to no progression, and after the first patch of the game in December, we saw hundreds of people leaving the AOC, and we can only assume Artifact as a whole. Patch 1.1 brought us, well, very little to be honest. We got a couple of extra decks added to the free event mode that pretty much no one was playing. We got the ability to join an automated tournament, which drastically harmed the generation of new players for the AOC and other leagues. And we got card chat wheels, which were okay I guess. We also got some colorblind support, which I was grateful for, but that was definitely not what was slowly killing Artifact. The chat wheels were fun. People really got into those and started doing clever and funny things with them, but the extra event decks were honestly a waste of time, and I'm still not sure I've forgiven whoever came up with the automated tournament idea. While we were bleeding hundreds of players, a patch got pushed to make new players less likely to join community leagues. Now, patch 1.1 did come with an announcement. The next patch will come just 1 week later, and they promised to be fixing a whole lot of the really big topics threatening the game. But it was too little, too late, honestly. Within the next week, Artifact's popularity took a nosedive, or rather continued its nosedive from the previous week. At this point, there were only 2 weeks into the game, but since late October there were a series of questionable decisions, then a nice spike from the launch which resulted in an even bigger loss post-launch. Being higher up just means that the fall will hurt even more. Artifact really did have potential, it just needed something, anything to keep people's attention while they fixed a few of the key issues raised. But with nothing to hold the player base in, Artifact fell. Now patch 1.2 delivered. We got a progression system which, while basic, provided players exactly what they needed to push for some more wins, and it even balanced some of the ridiculous cards that had caused a rift in the community. All of the players still in the game were very grateful for it, but they were the only ones that knew. I don't think I saw any content creator who had covered the game during launch come back and do a video on the patch. Only content creators within the community still, such as myself, who had reached a decent number of players that had already left, were able to provide this new amazing patch information to people that had left Artifact. So, while this did bring a few players back, it was far fewer than we had hoped for. We'd stopped falling, but man, those are a lot of stairs to climb to reach back to where we once were. Sorry for the history lesson, but it really helps to paint the picture we're trying to eke out here. What is the state of Artifact in 2019? Well, it is vastly improved from the early December of 2018, but it certainly has struggles ahead of it. Also, I've decided something. Publishers need to stop releasing these big online games that will constantly require patches just before Christmas. Patch 1.1 wasn't great. Patch 1.2 is what we needed, but where is 1.3? We've not finished with the improvements, Valve. I know you're a wonderful company to work for and you've likely given many people a lot of free time over the holidays, which is the right decision, guys. They don't owe us anything. But for heaven's sake, stop releasing games like this knowing you'll be taking a break. Do you know why I rarely play Artifact these days? Because while I like the idea of balanced patches and progression, these ones were too safe to entice me. Progression currently comes from winning, which means everyone is running net decks, and as someone who likes playing weird things in Constructed, that really isn't appealing. What would counteract that would be some balance. Give something a really weird buff. It's fine, you can revert it, we won't bite. Then at least we Constructed nerds can experiment with something and possibly get results. I'm not saying Valve should pander to those exact requests, they're just an example of what I really want. I thoroughly enjoy the concept of Artifact. It is a thrilling card game, something I never thought would exist, but for how draining it is, there simply isn't enough fun in the game right now. And while I know Valve has the ability to make great games, Artifact will require work. So that is the state of Artifact in 2019. This is your open beta. We will work on the game for now, and eventually we will reach the highest of highs with this awesome idea behind us. If you enjoyed the content, please do like and subscribe as it really helps the channel out. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at div0k so you never miss another video. I've been Divok of Project 65, and I'll see you next time.